Hello, this is part 1 of the Chapter 11 lecture series on the corporate form of organization. Let's get started. We talked about the corporate form of organization in Chapter 1. We learned that a corporation is an entity separate and distinct from its owners. A corporation is owned by shareholders or stockholders. The corporation sells shares of stock which represent ownership in the company. In exchange, the company receives money or other property. Stock certificates provide the evidence of ownership. Finally, payments to shareholders are known as dividends. A corporation is classified by its purpose and by its ownership. The purpose of the corporation relates to the reason for existence. A for-profit entity exists with a primary goal of earning a profit for its shareholders. A not-for-profit or non-profit exists with a primary goal of something other than earning a profit, such as a charitable organization. The ownership of a corporation relates to the availability of stock for purchase. A publicly held corporation offers its shares of stock to the general public, meaning anyone can purchase the stock. A privately held or closely held corporation does not offer its shares to the general public. Only a select group of people can purchase the stock in these types of corporations. For example, a corporation may be started by a family, so only members of that family are allowed to purchase the stock. We discussed the advantages and disadvantages to the corporate form of organization in Chapter 1. Please review these advantages and disadvantages listed in your notes as a refresher. There are several steps to forming a corporation. First, you must file an application with the Secretary of State. If your application is approved, the Secretary of State will grant a state charter. Once chartered, the corporation is allowed to sell shares of stock and thus establish the ownership of the corporation. The last step in forming a corporation is developing bylaws for conducting the affairs of the corporation. This completes part 1 of the Chapter 11 lecture series on the corporate form of organization. Now let's learn about stock issuances and the stockholders' equity section of the balance sheet.